beautiful. And yes, I'm talking about you. You're all beautiful. Every single freaking one of you out here. It's the truth. Look, it is still Monday here, January 9th, 2023. This is my, of course, also beautiful, or maybe lovely, I don't know, post-market wrap-up. Lot to talk about. I want to read something to you, and I want you to have it. We'll talk about that in a moment, too. But let's talk about this freak show of a market. All right, let's reflect just a moment. Let's run through the day. This morning, we started off with a situation where global bond yields were coming down, the relative dollar strength dropping, MMRI a little lower here, stocks doing great, higher. Then all of a sudden, the freak show rears its ugly head. What am I talking about? Federal Reserve presidents kind of tag teaming the market in their usual mode of how they conduct themselves. One freak saying this, one freak saying that. But the general consensus today from these freaks is, Fed's very serious. Very serious about raising rates. We're going to keep raising rates until we see inflation fall. I want you to keep that in mind because that's going to play right into what I want to read to you now. When the market got wind of this, of course, it gets afraid and scared, fearful. Yeah, and what happened was stocks reversed. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up like nearly 300. We finished in the negative, about 100 and change. S&P 500 also negative. I think the Nasdaq finished fractionally positive here. But that's what they do. It's always the same story out of these Federal Reserve presidents, and they always do the same thing. This one says this, another one says that, generally taking a little bit of the opposite side of the equation on this whole thing. We're going to raise rates, but it's not going to be so bad. We're going to be very aggressive. It's the same story. They try to keep the market off balance, keep people guessing as to what they're going to do. And believe me, there's no guesswork here at all. And I want you to keep that in mind too when I read this piece of work to you. So with that said, how did the day finish? As I said, stocks Dow, S&P lower, Nasdaq fractionally higher, gold and silver mixed here, but relatively flat. Crypto's doing okay, crude catching a bid, relative dollar strength lower, MMRI about where we started the day off. That's kind of where we stand here. But the truth of the matter is, there's a lot more that's going to be coming right at you. Now, before I even get started, I put a direct link to this, and I want you to have this in the description of this video. If you are already a subscriber to my free newsletter, this is already in your inbox. So I hope you read that, make a copy of it, put it in a file. And look, you have my permission to share all of these. Anything that I send out in my free newsletter, you have my, permission to share this wherever you want. I'm putting this out publicly. If you feel like a piece like I'm going to read to you right now is important, I want you to share it. I'm going to ask you to share it, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to do my usual. I'm going to read through this, and I'm going to kind of ad-lib, and hopefully I'll try to keep it somewhat cool as I go through this. So just to, again, say something that's been on my mind as of late here, it's this currency devaluation situation. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it just did, which is going to get much worse moving forward here. And it's a game. And this will outline, at least I hope you'll understand what I'm saying here. So let's start here. Okay, currency destruction on a grand scale by Greg Mannarino, traderschoice.net. Yep, that's me. All right, so bear with me. For many years now, central banks have been in a virtual race to the bottom to see which central bank can manage to suck, and I don't mean suck in a good way, suck the purchasing power out of its respective currency faster. Now, this isn't in here. If you follow this blog, you know that has been one of my, prime topic since day one, explaining to you that there's a currency war going on, and the central banks are, maybe my wording is a little off. It's not a war between these central banks. They're all doing the same thing, devaluing their currency at the same time, but it's a war against you. It's a war against me. Central banks have clearly declared war on the people of the world and their puppet governments who play the game. So as I said, so let me just go over this. So for many years now, central banks have been in a virtual race to the bottom to see which central bank can manage to suck the purchasing power of its respective currency faster. Now, why? Why is this going on? What is the end game? What is the goal? Now, it's pretty in depth. It's only about 1.5 pages long. Why? The fact is this, okay? A lot of this, I'm going to repeat to you, is stuff you might know already if you're new here. If you have been with me, if you're new here, it's going to be new. The fact is this: central banks coordinate all their actions with each other. And collectively, they have been exceedingly very successful in causing global inflation to run rampant. Can I get a duh, please? Duh. Okay, maybe two. But we haven't seen anything yet. The mission of central banks is straightforward. In fact, it couldn't be more in our face. Okay, here we go. They are collectively on a mission to bring the world economy to its knees, which puts central banks in exactly the position which they want to be in, and that is the lenders and buyers of last resort. I've been telling you this since time immemorial. Okay, listen to this. Ever since the inception of central banking, there has been just one goal for these institutions, and that goal is to one day own it all. Does that sound familiar to you? I hope it does. Central banks run the entire global financial system by having the power to issue one single product to the world, and that product is debt. Debt is their product. You understand? Central banks have the absolute, unchallenged, the absolute authority to issue their single product, again, debt, to governments and people of the world in any amount which they see fit. I want you to consider what I just said. Moreover, they can do this, whatever they want, with their product with zero oversight. None. Zero. Absolute nothing. They have absolute power to do this. Today, central banks collectively, you know this, are the single most powerful organizations on the planet. And nothing they do is ever just by accident. Every move a central bank makes has been well thought out and planned years in advance of whatever monetary policy they institute at any given time. These are not spontaneous decisions. This has all been scripted. It's all written out. It's all in some kind of secret book somewhere, and they just follow the recipe. All right? Henceforth, why there'll never, ever be a legitimate audit of the Federal Reserve or any other central bank. They have absolute authority, unchallenged, to do what they want to. Okay? And if the truth of what central banks are actually doing and are trying to achieve very successfully got out, I think maybe people would go into revolt, or maybe they would just cower in some corner somewhere, sucking their thumb. I know, you let me know. Anyway, every move a central bank makes is well thought out and planned years in advance of whatever monetary policy they are going to institute at any given time. Every move a central bank makes is designed to create governments and people who are totally dependent on their system. Understand? Okay. Here we go. Central banks, to fulfill their end game, need to have the bulk. Here's the scenario I've been laying out. I've been telling you central banks are not done. Central banks are not done. This paragraph is going to outline exactly what I mean. Central banks, to fulfill their end game, need to have the bulk of the world population receiving some kind of government assistance. Government assistance. Okay, the Fed is the government. Henceforth, a slave to their system. They need to create dependency on their system by making people dependent on it, government handouts, whatever it might be. To achieve this, and I want you to Think about the current situation where we're hearing about what central banks are doing. They're raising rates, and I've been explaining to you they're trying to crush demand. They're trying to crush the man, okay? Crush the people themselves. That's how they crush demand. So to achieve their goal, to achieve this, central banks must crush consumer demand, dramatically slow the world economy, and overwhelm the consumer. Would you say that's happening right now? Because this is exactly what they've planned to do. A major strategic part of central banks moving closer to their goals is to dramatically devalue their respective currencies, which in turn creates more inflation. What have I been telling you since time immemorial? What's the goal of central banks? To continue to inflate. A central bank's ability to inflate and therefore create inflation / devalue the currency is how they maintain their power. And they will never give up that power. They will bring the world to war in order to keep it. How many of you doubt that? Do you doubt that? Just write, Greg, I doubt it. Or Greg, you're 100% spot on. I'd be willing to bet that the 100% spot on Greg is going to overwhelm wrong. Every manner, listen to this please, every manner of misleading tactic, propaganda, and the like is going to be used and propagated by the mainstream media outlets to deceive the public. As an example of what I'm talking about here, the mainstream media will push hard the narrative that central banks are desperately trying to fight inflation, when in reality, the polar opposite is exactly true. What are they trying to achieve? Well, I just told you here. In order to achieve their goal, central banks need to do several things. To achieve this, central banks must crush consumer demand, dramatically slow the world economy, and overwhelm the consumer. Would you say that's going on right now? Duh. Yeah, pretty much. It's in our face, isn't it? Okay. Central banks, along with their respective puppet governments, will continue to create reasons out of nothing to fund multi-trillion-dollar bloated budgets, expand wars, create new vaccines, another scamdemic, and the need for more drugs. And who knows what else they want to throw at us. We need all these new drugs, okay? More subsidies for big pharma. Yes, you subsidize it, and then you pay through the rear end and every one of your other orifices. Fear, and you know this already, will be utilized to an even greater degree to push the public mindset into adopting any manner of reasons why even more cash needs to be created into existence from nothing, to further foster the true agenda of central banks to collectively become world control. If you don't see exactly what I wrote here unfolding before your eyes, then you're blind. You're blind. This, people, is very important. And I want you not just to have this, okay? It's in your inbox if you subscribe to my newsletter. I want you to burn a copy of it. I want you to share this with everybody that you know. When are you going to hear something like this? Where are you going to find information like this? Please let me know. And I hope that other YouTubers out here, and I'm giving them a free license to do this, make a copy for yourself, other YouTubers out here, all of you, and read this to your followers. Okay? Raise awareness. That's what this is all about. Okay? All right, people, I think I've covered a lot, and this is freaking important. So go get your copy of it. Again, link in the description of this video. Subscribe to my free newsletter. You won't miss pieces like that. It's too important. All right, look, this guy, and I mean this with all my heart and all that I am, I love all of you, and I mean that we're a team. We're doing this together. We're making a difference. We're raising awareness, and we know what to do, and we know why we're doing it. We're betting against the debt, becoming our own central bank. You want to be long this market? I told you how to do it. JEPI, one of my biggest investments right now. Absolutely. Also, commodity ETFs moving forward. There's a list of them in my free newsletter, including others I've spoken about right here before in the past. Take advantage of these things, okay, people, honestly. So, with that said, I'm going to let you go. I will see all of you in the morning. Please comment. If you do have this and you read it, I want to hear your comments as well, okay? I'm out of here. See you in the morning.